So I'm a big fan of deliberate cold exposure and for all the health benefits and things that it provides. And this is coming from somebody who I would have said in the past, I don't like the cold. But yeah, I want to share with you, and it's kind of a trending topic, cold plunges, ice baths, stuff like that. So I want to break down some of the research, some of the literature, some of the powerful effects that we can get from deliberate cold exposure and how we can incorporate this practically in our days, like every week to get some extra effects. So, back when our ancestors, hundreds or thousands of years ago, they would have been naturally exposed to the elements all the time. And now we're understanding how powerful that can be to our bodies, even though we're in this modern world where we're comfortable, we have food all the time, we have the temperature regulated, we don't have to be exposed to these things, but I think we're missing out on a lot of benefits that we can get from deliberate cold exposure as well as heat exposure. So, but today I'm mainly going to talk about cold exposure and how powerful that is, but this does kind of bring up the topic of hormesis, which I'm big on and I teach and I train on. Hormesis is the idea that we put certain stressors on our body intentionally, and it allows our body to adapt and make changes. So there's these awesome biochemical functions in our body that are designed there, that God created in our bodies, that when we're exposed to certain stressors, our body will start realizing that and making changes and making adaptations so that we can be better the next time we're exposed to that stressor. And again, in today's modern world, we're so comfortable, we're away from these things that our body doesn't have to experience these stressors all the time. And it's really affecting a lot of people's health. And I think a big part of the decline of health in general, on top of a lot of other topics that we talk about. But I think this idea of hormesis is huge. And so a lot more research is being done in that. So yeah, and there's other hormesis types that we like and that are very powerful, like exercise, like I said, heat exposure as well, so saunas, stuff like that, fasting. Again, back in the day, our ancestors would have gone sometimes days without food, and that would have been a part of their normal life, and their body has to make changes and adaptations to that. And so, but anyway, so cold exposure, and again, a lot of the research being done now is just showing some amazing benefits. One is it increases the amount of brown fat in the body. And so they call it brown fat because literally under the microscope when they look at it, it is brown, but it's brown because it's rich in mitochondria. Mitochondria is something we talk about a lot. It's the powerhouse of the cells that produce our energy. So over 90% of our energy comes from this mitochondria. And so again, don't think it's the bad fat that we think of, the blubbery fat that we all don't want some of. This is actually good fat in our body. Babies are born with a lot of this, and then as we age and we lose a lot of our brown fat. But cold exposure is one of the best ways we can increase our brown fat. So what that means to you is it can increase your body's natural energy production. You can build that energy power plant. It's like your furnace that is creating energy, but also creating heat. So some people that are very cold intolerant, this can, so cold exposure can actually make you more resistant to the cold, build more heat in your body so that you're adapting to that. And, mitochondria is one of the most important things for as we age for our energy production, but also our immune system. So yeah, this brown fat production is really dramatic with intentional cold exposure. And so I know some people ask, well, okay, how cold? What does that look like practically? And so again, a lot of the research, and I'm not, today isn't about breaking down an hour's worth of all the research in the literature, but kind of bringing you the main points of it. And so a lot of it goes to showing this range, if you want a specific number, 40 to 60 degrees. And they say on average at least 11 minutes a week. So as little as 11 minutes a week, and it doesn't have to be all at once, and it would be recommended probably not all at once, but from 1 to 5 minutes at a time, 40 to 60 degrees of exposure. So that can look like just going outside on a cold day with no shirt on or just a t-shirt and getting that cold and kind of feeling it, letting your body adapt. Again, cold plunges, ice plunges are a big thing right now. And yeah, that's great. And if you can tolerate that, that's fantastic. I probably wouldn't start there with most people. A cold shower is a great way to begin for a lot of people. So, you can take your normal shower, warm shower, and then end with turning it cold. And the best way to do this is to kind of go slow, and then also step out of the shower, turn it cold, and then start by sticking your hands in, your feet in, and then get it on your arms, on your legs, and then stepping in fully. So doing that over the course of 30 seconds to a minute, getting in. And then you want to be in that cold for, again, at least a couple minutes. So as little as 11 minutes a week, you can trigger these adaptations in your body that can produce amazing results. So some of the other, proven key benefits of cold exposure, not just for energy and not just for, metabolism, and this is a big kind of weight loss thing for triggering the body to burn more fat too, but things like improving cholesterol and lipid profiles, helping balance blood sugars and insulin production, boosting the immune system. Really big boost in the immune system. The body does a lot of amazing things when we're exposed to cold. It's starting to clean up things, and for a lot of people with cancer, autoimmune, or all these different conditions, the immune system is not keeping up with things. So cold exposure is a great way to stimulate our immune system, and they're seeing kind of major improvements, 100, 200, 300% of immune function increase and adaptations of some of our immune cells. So increase in dopamine. So this is another one. When you do a cold exposure, and again, I've learned to kind of like this because afterwards you feel really good. It is a little bit challenging when you're doing it, but you feel really good. And some of that's from this surge of dopamine. So dopamines are one of our feel-good hormones. And it's produced, they say, up to 2.5 times for a few hours after cold exposure. And so there's even been some research done on people that have had addictions to drugs, and them using cold exposure as a way because they're getting this dopamine hit from that. So you do feel good. It reduces inflammation and increases adiponectin, which is a very powerful thing in helping us adapt to inflammation and overcome inflammation. Combating oxidative stress, which is another big reason that people develop degenerative conditions or even up to cancer, stuff like that. So, and also athletes use this for inflammation and recovery. So very good for athletic performance and allowing our muscles to repair and regenerate at a quicker rate. So yeah, I think we've all maybe seen it, the football players or the baseball players after a workout, they get in their little ice baths. Well, yeah, there's a lot of powerful reasons for that. But again, I think some of the main things that I think about are immune function, building our resilience, and this is really important to expose ourselves to things regularly, like these different hormetic stressors, to build our resilience so we're more resilient going forward. But yeah, immune function, energy production. There's also a lot of research pointing towards some adaptations and helping with anxiety and depression. So yeah, I think anyone wanting to make themselves stronger, power their immune system, build their mitochondria, which now is kind of like the core of a lot of new science, is this mitochondria, because it's so powerful for so many things. It basically powers everything in our body, and we're losing mitochondria over time. So yeah, I would encourage you to do some level of cold exposure regularly, whether it's, like I said, going outside, shower. Ultimately, yeah, ice baths are probably the most beneficial. Once you're adapting, you don't want to probably jump into a 40-degree cold plunge right away. You want to ease yourself into it, doesn't shock your system. But eventually, if you can get to it, and the colder the exposure, the research shows you don't have to be in it as long to get the same benefits. So yeah, I encourage you to implement this in your daily regimen. I think you'll feel great, and you'll start to notice the benefits within a short few weeks on feeling better, feeling more energized, and able to deal with stress better as well.